The Arena, a multi-platform gaming news podcast, is brought to you by, well, of course, you. If you want to learn more about how you can support the show, go to patreon.com/thearena_podcast.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Hey everyone, and welcome into The Arena, a multi-platform gaming news podcast. This is episode 82. I'm your host, Expat, along with my co-hosts, Burley of Burleyman Gaming on Twitch and Turn-Based Carl. Hey guys, how you doing? Carl, how you doing, man?
Great, man. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we
Played
missed you
some
last
video
week.
games.
Yeah,
Got things to talk about.
Awesome. Burley, how are you, man?
I'm good. Carl, did we end up getting that deal with Microsoft yet?
Oh, you know, I can't really say too much. I don't want to spook investors or,
I gotcha.
I don't want to trigger any insider trading.
And you guys threw me into that deal as well, right? I'm sure you guys did.
Of course, yeah.
Yes.
Sweet, yeah. Sweet. yeah. But it's like I'm wearing my Mario hat for this episode. Maybe Nintendo might have some problems with that. Who knows? But we'll see.
It might depend on your Mount Rushmore picks if you get in on the Xbox deal.
Yeah. So speaking of Mount Rushmore, have you guys ever been to South Dakota? Have you guys ever been to Mount Rushmore?
No.
Never. Wow. Well, Carl, you're from the East Coast. Yeah, Burley, you're from Toronto area, so I guess that's understandable. I mean, I'm from the West Coast in San Francisco, so I've been to Mount Rushmore once when I was a kid, when my father rented an RV and we went on a trip, during the summertime. So we went to Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, and then we went to Mount Rushmore. So, that was pretty cool. And all of you out there, you're probably wondering why the hell we're talking about Mount Rushmore. Well, of course, our topic of the show is going to be our Mount Rushmore of video game characters. So obviously in American culture, it's kind of an American cultural thing, but we kind of like to talk, for example, when it comes to sports topics or political topics, we like to talk about who would we put on our Mount Rushmore of sports athletes or politicians, because of course Mount Rushmore has some of the greatest presidents in American history, carved into the granite portions of the mountain. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about, or in our topic of the show, our Mount Rushmore of video game characters. So myself and Burley and Carl are going to, give our top 4 video game characters, our personal picks of all time that we would feel would go on our Mount Rushmore of video game characters. So we're going to be talking about that.
Yeah.
Burley, Carl, go ahead. Yeah.
Can I ask you, as a Canadian all your life, what is your familiarity with Mount Rushmore and the idea of it?
Yeah, Burley.
My familiarity. You want to know where I first saw it?
Probably a movie.
No, The Simpsons.
Okay.
With one of their parodies. I've seen it, and then I've watched a lot of the History Channel. So you've seen it. I've seen a lot on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Mount Rushmore is not that big, too. You kind of look at it in photos and in images and things, and you think, man, that's
huge.
a big. Yeah. It looks huge, but it's not. It's really not that huge at all. But anyway, we're going to talk about.
That makes sense because I mean, if you think about it, that would be a monumental, task to make that. Even I'm sure it already was, but to make it even bigger. I mean. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that in our topic of the show anyway. We're going to be talking in a moment here about the games that we've been playing or streaming this past week. But before we do that, here's a brief word about where you can find the podcast.
Before the crew discuss what they've been playing, this episode of The Arena, a multi-platform gaming news podcast, and the post-show, in audio and video formats, will be going to Patreon in early access for one day after recording. So if you would like to support the show and become a patron at the entry Tier 1 level at $1 per month and get early access to every episode and post-show in audio and video formats, as well as watch or listen ad-free, please visit patreon.com/thearena_podcast for further details. Weekly on Sundays, the podcast will be uploaded to all free podcast services. Weekly on Wednesdays for the post-show, where you can find us on any podcast app for iOS or Android, Spotify, Amazon Music, and in video format on our YouTube channel, The Arena Productions. For the audio version, just download your favorite podcast app or open Spotify and search for The Arena, a multi-platform gaming news podcast. Subscribe, follow us, post a review, and leave us questions, comments, and feedback if you like, if that feature is available there, and spread the word about the podcast. We also have a Discord called The Arena Podcast, where you can join and chat with the Arena Podcast community, and the podcast website is at thearenapodcast.podbean.com, where you can follow us and leave questions and comments as well. Finally, you can also follow us on Twitter at the Arena AMPGNP, as well as on Instagram at the Arena_podcast. Now, back to the show.
Okay, guys, my game that I was playing, I played it actually earlier today a little bit. It's on Game Pass, Chinatown Detective Agency.
Oh, cool.
Now, yeah, it's you know, Carl, you and I were talking about, or you were texting about this a little bit before. It's very similar to Thimbleweed Park. So it's it's a point and click adventure. You're basically in Singapore in the 2030s, and you're going on an investigation. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm very early in the game still, but yeah, it's basic point and click at this point in the game. So it's very similar to Thimbleweed Park in that regard. Mm-hmm. So it seems interesting at the moment. So that's what I've been playing.
The story's grabbing you.
I'm a little too early in the story yet to really get a grip on whether I'm really going to like it or not. But it's pretty cool. I mean, so far, like I've put about 2 hours into it. So, but anyway, Carl, how about you? What have you been playing, man?
Well, I guess since I've been on, I finished up Triangle Strategy. I don't think I mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
I've been on.
And how many hours did it take?
Well, the first run was, I think, 40-something, 43 or so.
Okay.
For my first playthrough. Then I went through a second one, which brought me up to a total of 65 hours.
Yeah.
It was easier to run through. Plus, I lowered the difficulty for the second time, just because I really wanted to see the other sort of path of storylines.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it is. I would recommend. I mean, I guess I would recommend anyone who really is into it to play and to get two endings and to make sure that one of those endings is the sort of like golden path or route, because it's really a really interesting, significant moment for the lead, the protagonist, Serenoa. It's like, well, in the other ending I got, and I'm not sure how the others go, but in the golden path ending, that's where he gets his real character arc, like, comes to a conclusion, and he really becomes I don't want to say too much, but yeah, he becomes what you think, like he sort of meets his destiny, or his he fulfills like his role, you know. And it's a good ending. It's obviously like it's the good ending versus like like I said, the other ending I got was very bittersweet.
Okay.
So yeah, great game. I love it. I could tell you a lot about it, but I want to move on to the other things I played.
Yeah.
Which were just tuning.
Before you go on though, Carl,
yes.
Can I just ask this question? Could this game potentially get a sequel? Triangle Strategy.
I mean, yeah, you could. You know.
Okay.
The thing is, like with this world and this characters, I mean, I don't know that you would want to plunge this section of the world into war again, because that's sort of like the if you get the good ending, you're supposed to be kind of solving that. Like, I'm not going to like screw up these people again. If you want to make it like many, many years later, or even a different part of the world. But yeah, like, you know, you could do it, of course.
Okay. And the other games?
Yeah, so Tunic, which I've actually finished. Tunic now.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, at least as much as I'm going to play it, because there's more to do, but I've gotten the endings, the 2 endings of the game.
Nice.
It took me 15 hours. I did I will say on the final boss, I did do the bit of a cheat, and it is a cheat, but in the accessibility options, you can turn on no fail and no stamina loss.
Nice.
And I did it because I felt like I did with every other boss. Like, they took me some time. They're challenging, but you can learn them and you can get it. I got through every other boss. This boss, again, is sort of the same. Like, I felt if I put more time, I could have eventually gotten through it. But it's not, I don't love these type of games so much. So, like, I was at the point where I'm like, I don't want to put any more time into this. I don't want to spend, I don't know, 30 minutes to maybe 30, 40 more minutes, like, just, plugging away at this one boss. Like, it wasn't worth my time. What I wanted to do was do that, go back in, get all the other collectibles I needed to get the other ending. It's like, which would take me, I feel like I did that in the amount of time it would have taken me to actually beat the final boss. So it's like, it wasn't worth the effort for me. But I mean, it's a fantastic game. I really enjoy the gameplay. Feels really good and solid. There's not a lot of like combat maneuvers, but it's very much like the old Zelda, where like you have very simple basic attacks, but you have then items and other things you can use to supplement that. Of course, obviously, it feels much better than an old Zelda game.
I see.
And there's like secrets all over the game to find. The instruction manual thing is just awesome. Like, when you get the whole manual and just like you have the front cover of it and just flipping through all the pages of it in the game, it just brings back so much nostalgia. Like, if you've ever had or held a Nintendo original NES, instruction manual.
I see.
And if you ever had one, and as a kid, you may have written stuff in it. The last section has notes, and again, this has just all that, and there's little things written in it. And the manual is very important. If you want to organically get the real ending, you have to study that manual, and you have to decipher things in the manual.
Interesting.
And again, I cheated, I will say, of course, for this as well, because I did not take the time it would to decipher all those things in the manual myself. I went online. Okay. Because that, again, would add a lot of time to your play in this thing. Like, to get one of the pages for the instruction manual. I don't want to spoil anything in this game because it's really fun. It's really interesting to like unlock these mysteries. So I won't specifically say anything, but there's a code you have to put in, like a D-pad, sort of like up, down, left, right type of code.
Not like Konami code?
Yeah, not the Konami code. But that is literally like at least 50 button presses. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you can decipher this on your own using the manual, but man, I would never in my life take the time to do something like that. Nice. Just wouldn't. Yeah. But if you're someone who's into that sort of stuff and you like these type of games, you like a good challenge and like looking for little secrets and mysteries all over, and you like an interesting story that's like, well, it's not interesting. It's vague, and it is interesting when you like try to piece together what's really happened in this world, but there's not like, it's probably like a Dark Souls thing where you're figuring out sort of a lore based on things that are around you and things that are written in the manual. It's cool and it's interesting, and you would love that. That's your jam. For me, it's like it was good enough that I really enjoyed it, but it's not a type of game that I would normally love. So I guess that says a lot about how good it is.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, and then I do have one more thing. I started Life is Strange: True Colors.
Nice.
Okay. And it's this game it's interesting because like when I asked you, Expat, I know you played some of this, right?
Yeah, and Burley too. Burley's
I platinumed it.
Yeah. Okay. When I asked like what happened? How do you actually play this game? What are you doing? And I now that I played, I'm like, yeah, it's really hard to describe. Like, it's not really there's not really much video gamey stuff actually happening. In this.
No. I mean, it's basically maneuvering through the story. I mean, it's basically story based and finding clues to certain things. And Burley said he really enjoyed the kind of like the kind of like it seemed like. I don't know. Well, I won't say because I don't think you might have gotten that far, but it's basically, you know, finding clues to figure out things that have been going on. So you're just maneuvering through the story. It's not very video game based in the sense of you're shooting anything or stuff like that.
You're not even puzzle solving. You know,
minimal puzzle solving, a little bit.
There is puzzle solving, but I do like going for the collectibles in each chapter. Because you're using not only when you get them, you do unlock memories and stuff, and it's neat to see because how those will affect into the world,
and so, how it will affect her emotions, because her emotions are what drives this game and drives the story. So
I finished chapter 1. So if you guys remember, is that level of puzzle solving, like that's as much as it goes.
It goes a little more.
It gets a little bit, higher level than that, but not much. I mean, it's more fun.
It's an interactive story for the most part.
Exactly. Yes.
All I'll say is chapter 3. Just prepare to just sit, laugh, and have a good time. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. I mean, look, this might not be the thing for a lot of people, but I actually enjoy these type of games if they're well written, which this is very well written.
Yes.
I'm very interested in the characters and the relationships already by the end of one chapter. I'm really kind of upset with what happened at the end of the first chapter, and I don't. I hope it's not what I think it is, but it probably is. What just happened? So.
And there's a bit of in the story there's some mystery as well, and you'll get to that later on. So
I will say, I guess for anyone listening who's not sure, like still what you're doing in this game, like you're walking through town, you're listening to the characters talk and interact, and you can look at items or you can interact with them briefly.
Right.
There's no inventory. You don't hold items of any sort really, like other like story based. Like you have to have something because your character has it, right? But you don't like have to decide for an inventory, and you're basically making choices. Usually one or two or three on dialogue choices that are significant, and it seems like only one of two actual like action choices that matter.
Right. Is this your first Life is Strange game, Carl, or have you played the others? Okay, so this is similar to the other Life is Strange
which
games.
is why I'm describing it sort of like if you've never played this type of game, this is what you're getting into.
Right. Yeah.
And then you also have the power, which in this game is like emotions based. You can read people's emotions and get sort of memories or feelings from them, and then it impacts her emotions as well.
Right.
Which is all it's all interesting. It's really interesting. Though I can see a lot of people, this is not their thing. It's not video gamey,
Yeah. If you're into story-driven based games, this is an excellent game. So definitely.
Yeah.
So, okay, Burley, what have you been playing?
I've got a few games as well. The first one I know Expat's going to be really happy on my own time. Lost Judgment.
Yeah.
2 more chapters. I'm now on chapter 5 of the story of the game. It's really good. It is such an improvement over Judgment. I enjoyed Judgment, but if you enjoyed Judgment, pick up Lost Judgment. And I can't wait till I beat it and then get to the Kaito DLC.
Yeah.
The
story is stronger in the second game. It really is. I mean, it's really, really good. So, and like I said in previous podcasts about this game, I mean, it hits quite close to home for me because, I mean, it deals with the education system in Japan as well, and the schools and like a high school in particular. And of course I work in the school system here in Japan. So it's very, very, very close to home here for me. So very, very good stuff. So, and of course, Kimura Takuya, he's a great actor, and a lot of the supporting characters are back from, the first Judgment game. So what else have you been playing, Burley?
I've also been playing for the 2 games I've been streaming, Kirby and the Forgotten Land. That game's been a lot of fun. Frig some of those challenges to get all the Waddle Dees because I want to get them all. Because usually that's how you get your secondary endings in Kirby, the better ending. So I've been doing that, and I've had a lot of fun in doing I really love the upgrading of the powers. So that way, and you can go back to the older version, mid version, or the high tier, third tier version of the power, and they're all a little different stat wise. It's really, really nice.
Cool. All right.
And the other game is Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. I'm loving that game.
Really?
Wow. It's Carl. It's just a lot of fun. The story is memey and just a little like but it's just funny. But the combat is so much fun, switching between 2 jobs. And anyone that you want to, little piece of advice: get the Sage job immediately, as soon as you can, because it's just so nice being able to both be able to cast white magic and black magic at the same while you're in that job, so you're not switching between multiple jobs on the fly.
It's not a red mage. How dare they? It's based on Final Fantasy 1, right? What are they doing? Did they not play it? No, I'm kidding.
Well, they open it up to a lot more jobs than because I think Sage first came in Final Fantasy 3.
Yeah, I don't like, you mean like the NES 3 or
the NES 3,
the Americanized 3, which is 6.
The NES
because there's
3.
someone who is a sage, right? I believe in 6. Is he a sage?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yep.
Right.
Well, there's a sage in 4 too. Tella.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Okay. I see it. You're right. I suppose. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't think of it like as the class archetypes in that game, but they sort of are.
Yeah.
All right. So.
One thing I wanted to ask about Strangers of Paradise. If you aren't a fan of Final Fantasy, like haven't had those experiences, is that nostalgia helping you? Is that making you enjoy it more?
It does help a bit more. I'm not gonna lie, because you do get because I'm seeing tons of enemies and stuff from the series, and since it is one of my favorite series of all time, it does help. But I think if you're into these action games, you don't necessarily need it to get you through. But I would highly recommend you be a Final Fantasy fan to want to go into this. You're going to get the most enjoyment out of it.
Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the weekly news beat and our discussions of some of the things that came out over the week. Obviously, just before we started recording, I think it was earlier today or late last night, there was the news that Kojima came out and said that Sony's not coming to buy us. So we're, of course, we're staying independent. Obviously, I mean, it's why would he want some other Japanese company like Sony to come and buy him, and it would just be like Konami all over again, basically. I don't know. But
all this stemmed from is Sony retweeted out a new picture of their banner with all their big games and studios.
Yeah. But then it just blew up, and it's like, oh my God.
Kojima did a retweet of it. So everyone thought, "Oh my God, they own." It's just it's internet, it's fanboys that are going, "Oh my God, he retweeted a tweet means they own them." I was like, "Oh God, calm down."
Right.
So
anyway, that was just another side story. But anyway, let's get to.
There's also people rampantly rumoring that Sony's buying someone, and Kojima Productions is always involved in that.
Yeah.
Although, can I just briefly
go
point
ahead.
out that I'm piecing together my own theory that I put on Twitter about Persona 5 coming to other platforms, because there's been there's 3 things that people have noticed that have happened, which is that it's leaving the PlayStation Plus collection, which is nothing else ever has, so that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And then there's a Windows, the actual Windows account, whoever runs that, like, made a comment talking about Persona 5 and how many times have you beat it, which is kind of a little odd, but like, not to say I looked at that account and I'm like, they make comments like that, so I wouldn't say that it's completely out of nowhere, but still, that's another thing. And then the last thing I saw was they're running sale on Persona 5 Royal on PlayStation Network and physical copies. I'm like, I think they're trying to get as many sales on PlayStation before it's available elsewhere. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
Could mean nothing. Could mean at least PC. We'll see.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the first story. So, this was one especially close to Burley here. So, I want to talk about this a little bit. So, The Witcher 3 next-gen upgrade delayed again as CD Projekt Red takes over development. So, the link to the story that we're going to be referring to is below here. So, CD Projekt Red announced it is delaying the next-gen version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt indefinitely and will no longer be releasing the upgrade in Q2. Part of the delay may have to do with the change in the developer. So previously, the update was being developed externally by Saber Interactive, but it seems like CD Projekt Red decided to take over all of the rest of the development. So, quote, "We have decided to have our in-house development team conduct the remaining work on the next-gen version of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt," end quote. So a recent tweet on The Witcher's account read, quote, "We are currently evaluating the scope of work to be done and thus have to postpone Q2 release until further notice. We'll update you as soon as we can. Thank you for your understanding," end quote. So Burley, what are your thoughts on this? And why is CD Projekt Red scooping this up from Saber?
I think it's pretty obvious. Witcher 3 is their baby. This is their cash cow. If Saber screws this up and they have another Cyberpunk launch, they realize people are going to crucify them. So I think they are just going to they're like, we need to step in. We need to make sure everything runs perfectly. Because if we can't get this right out on the PS5 and the Xbox Series and the definitive editions on Steam and all that, we're going to be in big trouble.
So when do you think this is going to come out? I mean, Q2, it's not coming. Is it 2023?
I think 2023 at the earliest. Because who knows?
Okay. Carl, your thoughts?
I found out something interesting is that Saber Interactive has, they're pretty big, and they actually have two divisions. That one is in Belarus and one is in Russia.
Oh,
so does that have an impact? Is that part of it? I don't know.
Possible.
It seems like it very much could be a reason.
Yeah.
Because they didn't really give a reason, right? As far as we know.
Yeah.
But yeah, what Burley said.
CD Projekt Red is Polish, right? If I'm
yes, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, but I mean, what Burley said for sure, like they want to make sure they get this right, of course. It's not to say that Saber Interactive wouldn't have. I think. I mean, isn't that what they are good at? Like, porting things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I don't know if this is good or bad. I can't tell you because everybody sort of questions CDPR at this point, and they have a lot of other things on their plate. So I don't know. I feel like I liked the fact that Saber Interactive was handling it and that someone else was directing all of their effort, sort of seemingly on just enhancing. They're not really changing much. They're just like enhancing it, giving it some update. I don't think it was too daunting of a task, but I guess it is considering how big the game is for sure.
Yeah.
So who knows what it means?
We shall see. All right. So next up, of course, Scarlet Nexus. Yeah. So Scarlet Nexus celebrated 2 million sales, Game Pass downloads. So this is a game that obviously benefited from coming to Game Pass as well. So the link to the story here that we're talking about is below. So for all of you video viewers. So Scarlet Nexus celebrates 2 million sales and Game Pass downloads. So Bandai Namco's high-tech action-adventure Scarlet Nexus has shifted an impressive 1 million copies since its summer 2021 release on PC and consoles. In addition, the publisher announced that over 2 million players have battled it out within the anime-infused, quote, brain punk, end quote, universe. The huge disparity between player count and sales is a result of Scarlet Nexus being made available on the Xbox Game Pass service, downloads of which do not obviously count as internal sales. The addition of Scarlet Nexus to the subscription service did result in a 100% player increase, which still bodes well for Bandai Namco's future plans for the franchise, which has already received an anime adaptation. So, yeah. So that was from Destructoid.com. So anyway, this is good news for Scarlet Nexus. And, yeah, maybe we'll get a sequel to this at some point. But, this is just another example of Game Pass, boosting the player count and giving this game a lot more recognition. So, Carl, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's actually weird that they titled this 2 million sales because they say the right thing in the
article. It's all together. Like,
it's 2 million players,
right?
1 million sales, and then total 2 million people having played the game, right? But which is I think, in my opinion, the big significant thing to talk about here is that you went from 1 million units of this game, right, either physical and digital combined, to 2 million of people actually playing it. And obviously that's because of Game Pass. And you got to figure the majority of that is on Xbox because, I mean, PC Game Pass exists, right? But we know that that's nowhere near as popular, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And of course, if you think about it as well, the physical digital 1 million sales also includes Xbox sales.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I look at this and I say, okay, I mean, it's easy to say that ballpark half of the players for this game were on Xbox, right? I'm not saying that's exact, but I mean somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive. That's very powerful. That's something that I've said this on Twitter, is that Microsoft's going to be able to take this data and walk this around to all their Japanese publishers and developers and say, look, like, this is what Game Pass can do for you. This is what our platform can offer,
right?
And you should either take advantage or be on our platform in some form, at some point. No, and that's great for the game too. I'm happy for them. It's an interesting game. I liked it. I should have played more. I didn't. Again, is an action RPG is not particularly my thing, but I did like it.
Yeah, I played maybe a little over 10 hours of it. I want to get back to it for sure. Yeah. So, Burley, your thoughts on this? Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear this game benefited from it. I bought it, and like 3 weeks later, it went to Game Pass. I bought it on my PS5 because I got it really, really cheap, and from what I played of it, I enjoyed it. It's just one of those things that just played the game at the wrong time. I'm glad to hear more people got to play it, and it's almost like almost the same amount got to play it through Game Pass.
Right.
So and it's nice to see that more and more people are trying games through Game Pass they may necessarily not have bought it. Which is nice, and as Carl said, Microsoft can use this to go to other Japanese studios and be like, listen, some of your games may not sell well in North America. If you at least come on us, you have a better chance of reaching a bigger audience on Game Pass.
Reaching the bigger audience on Game Pass and getting the exposure that they might not get if it wasn't on Game Pass. And then that might get people to actually purchase the game at some point as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I am sort of case in point of how Game Pass succeeds in the data that they always talk about is how people play more games, but they also play other types of games that they don't normally play. Yeah. So like what I said earlier today, and I played Tunic, which isn't necessarily the type of game that I normally play, and I will sing its praises because I think it's really good. And Life is Strange. I mean, this is the first Life is Strange game I've played, right? But how many have there been before?
Yeah, there's been like 4, I think.
So
Yeah, this is the 4th installment of Life is Strange. Yes.
So you can credit Game Pass for making me someone who thinks that Life is Strange is a good franchise, because from what I played, I enjoy it, and I'm
right.
more inclined to play another one after this.
Right. And which leads us to our next story. And I know Carl's not going to like this so much, but
yeah, I like talking about it.
I had to throw it in. I had to throw it in here because you have to look at, the flip side of things. And there are people out there that are still not so much, I wouldn't say skeptical, but they might think that, hey, there's been, other subscription services that, that didn't, succeed over time. And this article that came out this week, I thought it was really interesting in a sense that, the person who writes this article, and of course, this is on PCgamer.com that we're talking about here. So, and the author's name is Wes Finland. So he talks about, he's not saying that Game Pass is a terrible service or a bad service. He thinks it's a really good service, but there's some things that we need to think about when it comes to the long-term success of Game Pass. And some of the things that he put out in this article is the fact that, of course, one, there's probably going to be a price jump at some point, which is going to be inevitable. And, maybe that might shy some people away from joining Game Pass because, and throughout this article, he really, and I don't know if I really agree with this or not, but he uses the Netflix model when it comes to the movie subscription service, and how Netflix over time has had several different price increases. And he also talks in the article about this deal could become worse for developers. And I want to quote some of the article here as we go on. He says, in Game Pass's first couple of years, indie developers praised the deals Microsoft offered to get their games into the library. Their games could end up being profitable before they even came out. And Game Pass didn't seem to negatively affect how many copies they sold elsewhere. So, I mean, we were just talking about like with Scarlet Nexus, it's, in this sense. But I asked an indie publisher if good deals to be included in Game Pass were still common. Quote, the general consensus is that Game Pass deals are still good, end quote, they said. Maybe that will continue to be the case for years, but it will always be in Microsoft.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. Let me finish. Okay. Maybe that will continue to be the case for years, but it will always be in Microsoft's best interest to prioritize games that the most subscribers play. In the long run, that goal likely won't mesh with creators who make games that land outside certain demographics. It's also less likely to mean re-upping deals for games that have already spent time in the Game Pass library versus boasting about new additions. And he also goes on to talk about the subscription wars where, of course you have, Ubisoft Plus, you have EA Play, and you have all these other subscription services. And so maybe some AAA publishers will decide, instead of putting it on Game Pass, to keep it on their own subscription service. So anyway, Carl, I'll let you start here because you were chuckling and everything about this. I know you really love this thing, so go ahead, man.
I'm just chuckling at the quote of the guy, basically like, "Hey, this is something that could happen." And then I asked somebody if it's happening. He's like, "No, it's not. It's actually good right now." So like he's just like making up this idea. Like I get it. Like he's trying to question that this could change, and of course anything could change.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just this person who's writing the article. There's probably a lot of people out here that are thinking the same way, in a similar way. So, I mean, it's interesting to bring it up, whether we agree with it or disagree with it. But anyway, go ahead. Your thoughts, man.
I cannot believe he brings up Movie Pass in the beginning. I'm like, my God, Movie Pass is like nothing at all. Like, and Movie Pass wasn't there some sort of like scam going on with Movie Pass?
Well, didn't it start out you could see any movie, and then when they realized people were buying into this and like they were getting all these free movies, they were like, now it's got to be free time. Like certain times you can do it on certain nights, and like they kept changing the rules, and then people stopped paying for it because they're like, I'm not getting my value because I have to go this and that, and this doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, you still got value. I actually had Movie Pass at the end, and it was still way too good of a value. Like if you used it as I assume they would intend, there was no business plan for that. That's the problem. Like they just like, hey, let's do this thing, and obviously they folded pretty quickly because it wasn't a good plan. So it's a weird thing to bring up in there. I just think that it's weird to question this. Like, yes, prices are going to go up as always. Eventually, they will go up, right? That's not It's not a question. Right. How much they go up, I don't think it's going to jump a lot. It will over time, and I honestly think the value right now is you're getting a steal. You know, I don't think you're getting just a good deal. I think you're getting a great deal. And if they raise the price today, I would still pay for it because it's still worth that price.
Right.
Like, I mean, obviously if they doubled it, that's not, but you know what I mean? Like they raise it $1 a month. I'd be like, I don't care.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, especially with Microsoft and the amount of, money that they already have. I don't think. So.
I mean, there's still acquisition of subscribers at this point. I really don't think they will change the price until after 2023.
Well, that's and that's what the person in the article was referring to. They're still in the phase of gaining, a ton of subscribers at the moment. So so I don't think they would be, raising the price when they're in that phase.
Yeah, the one thing I something I said before, so I do agree that like there may be less big third-party games on the service at some point, and I think that's because Microsoft's going to be able to fill those gaps themselves. But I don't think that means that like there won't be third-party games like that come later, right? Like the launching into it third-party, like you might not see a ton of that, but I think you will see like 6 months out, year out, like a really great game, that third-party game show up on the surface. I think that will still continue to happen.
Yeah.
As far as like indies go, I think it will always be good for indies because they get highlighted on the service, and they're always going to need to fill in weeks, right? There's never going to be a time when they're going to be able to cover every week, right?
Yeah.
So they're going to want to fill in those weeks with significant indies, and indies have been a big part of it, of getting other people to try different things.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me. Like it's been a good deal for them all the time. I think it always will be. There's the interesting, if you go to his bullet points here at this one point, I like to bring this up. So he says Game Pass loses its third. These are things they think could make it worse, right? It loses best third-party games to rival services. Now, yes, that is something that's gonna happen, right? Like PS Plus is gonna fight them for certain third-party games, and they're gonna have a bidding war. But this is where I say like they're not gonna need those because they're gonna have their games to fill it in, so it's not gonna be as big of a deal. It says publishers require subscriptions to get early access a week before you can buy a game, like EA has done with EA Play. Yeah. Okay, that happens without Game Pass, right? Like this isn't new. This isn't Game Pass didn't invent this idea. You can buy what do you call it? Like special editions of games that have early access.
Okay,
happens all the time. That's not a Game Pass thing. So I don't know why he brings that up. Timed played metrics encourage boring, grindy games. Yeah, that happens without Game Pass. It predates Game Pass. There are games that are designed to be grindy, so you play them longer for whatever purpose they want you to, either to spend money on microtransactions, right, or buy DLC or some other whatever, right? Like it's not a new thing. I mean, Assassin's Creed is specifically grindy intentionally, and has nothing to do with Game Pass. Like they didn't make that game to be grindy because Game Pass, right? Like, what is he talking about here? And then more tiers pop up to gate access to big games or expansions. I mean, that's a PlayStation Plus thing. That's not a Game Pass thing. I don't think they will do that because I don't think they want to fracture their library. They seem to want their library to be universal across. I know it isn't 100% just because of the limitations of like PC doesn't run certain things that Xbox runs and vice versa. And cloud again, also like that's another issue. But like for the most part, they try to get everything on all of those platforms. So the services, you get everything. There's no question about what's in it. You don't have to think about it. I think that's an advantage. I don't think they want to change that. I mean, not that it couldn't. And then the I'll wait for it to get added to a sub starts hampering direct sales. Which again, like that's something that I think very few people actually do. Because it's the same mentality of like, I'll wait for it to be on sale. A lot of people do that. It's not out of the ordinary. If you're going to buy a game at launch, you're going to buy it at launch. You're not going to care if you're going to wait for it to possibly come to Game Pass or possibly go on sale. Like you're going to buy it. Where if you're the person who might wait for a sale, then yeah, you might wait for Game Pass. Right. So I don't think you're really changing the dynamic.
Well, let's hope that game prices stay where they have been for the past 10, 15 years. I mean, there's all this talk about now the $60 game is going to become $70, universally. So true, that might affect the economics when it comes to people buying games day one.
Yeah, so, it very well could. But as we've seen with PlayStation 5 games and other 70 price games, they don't seem to be slowing down in sales. So people are still buying them. And then I'll just say the last thing I'll say is his last point on this bullet point here, which I'm like, you're just why man, why? Like he says NFTs ruin everything somehow. I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with Game Pass? Again, NFTs are in other games everywhere else, and specifically Microsoft's Xbox president Phil Spencer has said he doesn't like NFTs and he doesn't see the interest value in it.
Well, he might just be putting that in because he thinks that there's a lot of others out there that think that a lot of games are going to start getting a bunch of NFTs incorporated into them in the future. So who knows? But Burley, what are your thoughts on this, man? you've been pretty silent here. What do you have to say about this? No.
Well, I just didn't want to jump in, and Carl had a lot of great points there.
Well, I knew Carl was going to have a lot of points to say about this. That's why I put it in. I mean, it's good. It's good theater, man. That's why we are the arena, right? Yeah. So anyway, Burley, your thoughts? Yeah.
My thoughts. I think they will increase Game Pass, but I don't think like the price. I don't think it's coming for another year or two that they're going to do it. And I think it'll be like $1 or $2 or a month more, because they're not stupid. You jack it too much, there's going to be a lot of people that'll be like, I'll just buy wait for the 1 month dollar sale, and for when the titles I really want are in there, because there are people like that.
Yeah,
but I don't think it'll slow down on the library, because you're always still going to have games like, Outriders, Tom Clancy's Extraction, where those games are, let's be honest, not as many people are flocking to go buy them. And then Microsoft is like, we want stuff. And Square and Ubisoft are like, you're about to give us a bunch of money and we don't have to sell any copies. Okay, where do we sign? You're going to have those deals because it's just easy work for them. Those will never go. And I don't think we'll ever get like dripping quality of games, because that all depends on the developers and all that. And I don't think people are going to always want to try and get the best version of their game out.
Yeah, it's an interesting point with the Outriders and Rainbow Six Extraction thing. Is that games that seemingly having trouble building hype and traction, they're gonna do this anyway, because this is like a marketing, and maybe they'll go to PS Plus. But still, it's a way for them to be like, we're not seeing enough traffic, on our product. Let's let's put it into a service that might help it, because maybe the product is good or it might be fine. Who knows?
Well, it's guaranteed revenue versus you throwing it out in the market, because you never know. That's the thing. I didn't think Elden Ring was going to sell the amount it did. I knew it would sell well, but over how much it did, you never know.
Yeah. Oh, I just thought of a really good example, a Netflix example, because I'm sure this happens on Netflix where there are movies that they buy movies, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And maybe those productions, they realize that they're going to have a hard time marketing it or selling it, so that's the better deal. And if you look at a movie like Bird Box, I mean, there's no way if that had been in theaters, it would have been the sort of like very quick, like flash in the pan cultural phenomenon it became very briefly.
Right.
It just wouldn't have happened. So that's something that like really helped it because it went onto a streaming service.
And everyone was talking about it because everyone's like, everyone has Netflix and all that, and they're like, "Did you see it? No, I got to watch it tonight."
Yeah, they're like, "Did you see that dumb movie? Man, that was so ridiculous. You have to watch it."
I never watched the movie. I saw the trailer and it was like, yeah, no.
It's pretty absurd, but it's fun. It's fun. Yeah. It's one of those movies that like it's bad, but it's fun to watch because it's like bad.
All right.
Just to go back to the Game Pass thing, because I have one more thing. Is like one of the things I love with Game Pass. There's so many games I've tried that I never would have bought.
Yeah.
Like it just gets me to try shit, which is nice. And I use it in two different methods. I do it for just as a guy, a normal gamer, but I'm also a content creator. So for me to not have to drop $90 because I'm in Canada for what a game costs me, and just drop the $16-17 a month, it's so nice that it's like, okay, it's not a huge risk. If I try this game, I find out play for a half hour on my own time, this sucks. I'm like, I didn't drop $90. Why did I drop $90 on this?
Yeah, and what I really like about the Game Pass service too is the regional exposure. Like we just talked about in the previous story with Scarlet Nexus. I mean, Scarlet Nexus is a Japanese game, and little by little now, more and more Japanese games are coming to Game Pass, and that's a really good marketing tool to be able to market your games out in the West. Whereas if we didn't have Game Pass and people in the West wouldn't know about some of these games that are coming out here in Japan. So yeah, I mean, I think we're only going to see more and more games from Japan coming to Game Pass, and that's a great thing. So,
Microsoft, can you please give me the 1 year option of Game Pass to buy? I hate buying 3 months or a month at a time.
Yeah.
Actually, that's something I've hated for years.
Actually, I was at Yodobashi today, and I saw the cards for the 3 months, Burley. Yeah, so no 1 years, but yeah, they had the 3 month options for a Game Pass. So, but anyway. Okay, it's time for
the name. Damn, it's driving me nuts. What was? You probably don't remember the name of it either. That like card-based SquareSoft RPG. Do you remember that one?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Right? Like the whole board was like cards, and I was thinking of that game, and I'm like, I looked this up recently because I was looking for something to play on like Switch. I think it was on Switch, and. Yeah, that game came out already, but nobody remembers it. Nobody said anything about it
because it came and went.
Yeah. Now, if you put that on Game Pass, I'd have played it for sure.
Yeah.
I'd definitely give it a shot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. There's a ton of games that are coming to Game Pass that you wouldn't pay for, and you'd give it a shot. I mean, like Wild West. I mean, it's like. Not a lot of people are going to be buying that, but they're going to try it because it's on Game Pass. Chinatown Detective Agency, which I'm playing now. I would never buy that game, but I'm playing it because it's on Game Pass. So, yeah.
I'm going to find the name of this game. It's going to drive me crazy.
Well, is it because one of your Mount Rushmore characters are
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So while Carl is looking that up, we're going to go ahead and get to the topic of the show here. So, our Mount Rushmore, of course, of iconic video game characters, and so I'm going to go ahead and start with this. Now, the Arena Multi-Platform Gaming News podcast is obviously a multi-platform news show. And obviously, these are my personal opinions and Carl's and Burley's, but I wanted to, when I was thinking about this, and I thought really hard about these 4 characters, and I wanted to make them, you know, represented of each platform. And obviously, as you can see for you video viewers, of course, I'm wearing my Mario hat, and my first character that goes on my Mount Rushmore of iconic video game characters, obviously, is Mario. Mario has been a staple of the video game industry since the very beginning, pretty much. Almost everybody around the world has seen Mario and knows the name Mario. Obviously, he's the most famous, iconic plumber in the world now, of course, through the years. Mm-hmm. And he's been in so many iterations of, games that, and he still, the character still remains loved throughout the world. Whenever, people play those games, whether it's Mario Odyssey or the very first Mario game. So for generations now. So for my Nintendo pick, obviously Mario would go on Mount Rushmore. For my PlayStation pick, though, my PlayStation pick was a little hard to come by because obviously one of my, I guess you could call it one of my honorable mentions would be Nathan Drake. Of course, because I love the action adventures and I love the historical aspects to games. Of course, Assassin's Creed, as a lot of you know out there, is my favorite video game franchise. But for PlayStation, I had to pick Kratos. Because obviously the fantasy aspect of it all, Kratos is the Rock of the PlayStation franchise. And his face is probably the most familiar when it comes to characters. And he's been in several iterations. And the latest iteration, obviously, was, probably the best iteration of the Kratos character. And, of course, the next game coming up is probably going to be just as amazing or even more. So I would have to put Kratos on my Mount Rushmore. When it comes to Xbox, I think there's no question. He's the iconic character of the franchise. It's got to be Master Chief. Master Chief is the most well-known character when it comes to the Xbox brand. And I think he will continue to be. I mean, Halo Infinite was a successful game. I mean, I know Burley would probably disagree with me when it comes to the multiplayer aspects of this game and all, and some of the stuff that hasn't come out on it yet.
You mean it's an early access game? Yes.
Nonetheless, Master Chief has been there from the beginning. And he continues to be the staple of the franchise. I mean, when the Xbox Series X was announced, what is the first character that you see? You see Master Chief, obviously. So Master Chief would be my Xbox pick for Mount Rushmore. Now, my final pick, it has to be a multi-platform character. So a character that's been on PlayStation, been on Xbox. Switch, I think this character has been on Nintendo as well, when it comes to moving to cross-platform. But I had to pick a female character for this. And obviously, as I said earlier, Nathan Drake, being the adventurer and the historical treasure hunter that he is, I had to put a female character up there, and I decided to put Lara Croft on my my Mount Rushmore of video games, because I think you definitely, in my opinion, you definitely have to have a female character up there as well, because female characters are a staple to video games, especially moving forward now. I another honorable mention, I would have, if she would have been in more games and have been around for longer, I probably would have put Aloy up there on Mount Rushmore, but she just hasn't been around long enough. She's only been in 2 games. Lara Croft has been in several games, and she's
countless
games. Exactly.
I think it's like Carl. 30. There's
Thank
30
you,
different Tomb Raider games or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have to put Lara Croft up there. She's my favorite video game female character. And she's multi-platform. So I have to put her up there. So those are my 4: Mario, Kratos, Master Chief, and Lara Croft. Those are my 4 characters for my Mount Rushmore of video games. So with that, let's move on to Burley. Burley, what are your picks? And
see, I didn't go by platform. I just thought of ones that I've had, long experiences and great experiences with. So my first one is one in that image there. It's good old Sonic the Hedgehog. I started off with Sonic 2. That was the first game I've ever played in my life. I've just been a Sonic fan for years. I'm hoping Sega does right with this series, but there's just been a lot of great experience, a lot of great games, and they have done a lot with the character over the years. So, yeah. My next character is Nintendo based. It's good old Link. I know they don't give him much. Yes.
This is your picks right here on this picture.
not all 4. No.
Burley was on too much spiritual opium, and he's just like looking at the thumbnail, and he's like, "I'll just pick those." No, Carl, give him time. Let him. We still got 2 more to go. Okay. Yeah.
But why Link? I know he doesn't talk much, but just the emotions, especially when you get into the later games like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, just the expressions and the emotions, even though they doesn't really have dialogue. It's just, I think it's better than some of the characters in gaming that we do have dialogue for.
Okay.
And Carl's baby agrees with me.
Carl's baby agrees with that.
Yes, okay. Link.
Yeah.
My next character is a PlayStation 1. We got good old Ratchet.
Wow.
I've been a huge Ratchet and Clank fan for years. And it's not one that's shown on the image here, so
okay.
So you can't say
so for all you video viewers, all of you video viewers, yes.
That weird looking cloud is not Ratchet?
No.
Is that the Kingdom Hearts cloud? Get out of here with that. What is that?
Yeah, that's the Kingdom Hearts version. Which don't even get me started there. But Ratchet is just a character I've loved, because you see a lot of change from him from the beginning of the series, where he starts off, he goes through his prick phase in the first game, but he just gets it. He becomes a serious and then but funny character throughout the different games, and especially I really liked him in Rift Apart.
Okay.
And my final character here, I know Expat is going to be really, really happy. It's a multi-platform character, and one I know people were a little tired of as the series went on. It's good old Ezio.
Oh yeah, Ezio Alda Torres.
Yes.
Differenza. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I like it because he actually does have character growth between the 3 games he's in.
Yeah,
because he starts off as like just a bratty teenager going for the one girl, Katarina, but then in 2, when he sees his father and his brothers get hanged, he grows up, he matures, and then as he goes through the different between 2, Brotherhood and Revelations, he grows and changes and realizes like he can't just act the same way. He has to adapt, and and pick up where his father was, because he finds out his father was an assassin.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks, Burley, for yours. Carl, what are your iconic characters for your Mount Rushmore?
Yeah. Well, okay. It's going to be slightly boring in that Expat has 3 of my 4.
Yay! So, we finally agree on something.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way. Go ahead, Carl.
So I have 1 wild card, but my reasonings are slightly different. I sort of look at this as like, okay, this is, if you're building a Mount Rushmore today, right?
Yeah.
What characters represent, like where gaming is, right? How we got here,
right?
Trends sort of in the industry, trendsetters, I guess, right?
Yeah.
For where gaming is and what gaming is today.
Yeah.
So obviously Mario is, not only does he represent Nintendo, right, but he represents the platformer, not only the 2D but the 3D platformer.
Yes. Yeah.
A huge genre that's existed for many years and still is prevalent today. And there's many other, he is the quintessential example of that genre and how to do it well.
Right.
And obviously he's one of the most recognizable characters in the world, so it makes a ton of sense to put him on there. Yeah. And then you got Master Chief, of course, who represents Xbox, yes, but that's not, I think the most significant thing is that he also represents the first-person shooter, right? Yes. The modern first-person shooter.
Yes.
The console first-person shooter, right?
Yeah.
But also a lot of trends in first-person shooter gameplay, right? That game set a lot of things like, having only 2 weapons, right, at a time.
Right.
I mean, that's a Halo thing. The shield regen, right, or a health regen, right?
Yes.
That idea, that's Halo,
Yep.
And there's several other examples, but like Halo really is the game that set up and furthered one of and probably the most prevalent successful genre in gaming today.
Yeah.
The first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And of course he is a very iconic, and now he's got a TV series, and
Yes.
He beat. I wouldn't say he beat Mario because there was if you want to count the cartoon to a TV series, and then there was a movie, but
yeah, and the voice acting. I mean, the voice acting is Steve Downs. I mean, for years as Master Chief, and of course the same voice for Mario as well. So,
breaking news in the Halo movie, Chris Pratt is Master Chief.
There you go. Yeah, iconic voice. That's another thing. That's true. Yeah. It does represent a significant jump in the voice acting, the someone being defined for
right.
The knowing what their voice is. There's not a lot of that. I mean, there might be some of that predating Halo, but even Cortana too, as well. Like those voices, those voices so much so that Cortana is the same voice actor in the TV series because they're like, well, we can't really do anyone else because it's a digital character. It makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Third is Lara Croft, of course.
Yep.
Of Tomb Raider fame.
Yes.
Hugely prevalent series, and of course representing females in gaming. She is the most recognizable female video game character out there.
Yes,
she was the biggest and still remains the biggest, I would say, even though maybe the games aren't as popular as some other things.
Yeah. But even the latest iteration with Camilla Luddington, is very, very good. So
incredible. Really, it was able to become transition into the modern style of game.
Yes.
But also Tomb Raider represents 3D adventure games, right?
Yeah.
Your 3D action adventure, which is another huge genre in gaming today.
Yeah.
And that to me was, if I go back and remember, the first incredible 3D action adventure sort of type of game that I remember playing. And I also associate this a lot with PC gaming becoming a bit more accessible, right? Because this was huge on PC when it first came out.
Yeah,
I think it was just something that drove a lot of people who may have been only playing like Nintendo type stuff, NES, to PC. So yeah, hugely significant genre-wise again to the thing to all of gaming. So now the last one, the wild card, going along that theme of like significance in gaming and where we are today. This one is going to represent another genre that is very popular. It's going to represent one of the most popular, most highly best-selling video games in all of game. Actually, I think it's the #1 selling game across everything, and that is it is Steve from Minecraft.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Steve, you may not think about it as one of the most iconic, recognizable characters, but I guarantee you ask a ton of people who that character is, they will recognize him in gaming because every kid is playing Minecraft now. That is the game that like kids are beginning their gaming life on at this point. And as I said, it is the highest selling video game across existence at this point. And it represents several interesting genres and trends, right? It represents, your survival game, right? Which is pretty popular, a little niche, but also like there's tons of them out there. It represents your builder type games, which, there's Roblox is another example, like a really popular, successful, building type, free form creative game, right? And then also it represents a service game as well, because Minecraft as a service is huge. And that's another big avenue of gaming that we have today. So like it is like the sort of catch-all of like big trends where gaming has gone to in modern like days. Like if you had done this 10 years ago, maybe you wouldn't have put Steve anywhere near this list, but today it makes 100% sense to have him up there representing something that so many gamers would be like, well, like I play those type of games, I'm huge into those type of games. There it is.
All right, cool. That was a wild card, Carl. That's
I didn't see that,
but I liked how you put like the genre emphasis into it, like the platformer and the first person shooter and all of that. That's good.
Thank you. And I didn't represent, I wasn't selfish and didn't represent the RPG genre anywhere.
I thought you'd pick one turn based. I knew Expat was gonna pick Mario and Lara Croft, so I was like, okay, let's go a little different. Was kind of my thoughts. And I'm sure Expat that he's like, he's gonna pick Jin Sakai. I know it.
Well, Burley, one of my honorable mentions was Ezio as well. I considered putting Ezio up there, but so all righty. So that was our Mount Rushmore picks, and we have one more from one of our listeners and viewers. Steven, Tarnished Mage over on Twitter. He goes by @Sunny_Slim. His picks for his Mount Rushmore were Master Chief, Mario, Doom Guy, and Commander Shepard. So we want to thank
Commander Shepard. I can really see. Doom Guy, I'm not so much, maybe because like I haven't played as much of the later Dooms. Like I do have Doom 2016, but I don't remember Doom Guy really having much personality other than in the one scene he knocks the monitor out of his face.
What were the other two? I'm sorry.
Master Chief, Mario, and then Doom Guy, Commander Shepard. Yes.
I think Doom Guy potentially could swap out with the Master Chief, like on someone's list, because it's like, although I just don't think he's as recognizable, because prior to, I don't know, I mean, I'd say prior to, well, I guess he's sort of like a box art guy, right? Like you don't really see him. Like now, I think now maybe people are more seeing Doom Guy, right? But I don't know. I mean, it's first person again. It's hard to look. Again, Master Chief's the same way. You don't see him a lot, but there's third person cutscenes, so you do see him.
He's more expressive in the first 2 games because you get the health icon of his face, and as it gets more damaged and all that,
right,
and rage and all that.
Yeah. Kind of in the classic Wolfenstein games, they started doing that too.
Yeah, it's a good pick still, because personality I don't think is super important, because Mario doesn't really have a personality. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. Like he's not a character so much. He doesn't say much. He doesn't have.
He says "Mamma Mia" and Yahoo.
Yeah. So anyway, Stephen Tarnished Mage at Sunny_Slim, we want to thank you so much for giving your picks for your Mount Rushmore. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your support and you listening and watching us. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right. So that does it for our topic of the show. So next up, going to our new game releases for the week of April 18th through the 24th.
Sorry, real quick.
Real
quick. I remember I got the name of the game. It was Voice of Cards. The Isle Dragon
Cards,
the Isle Dragon Roars.
Oh, okay.
Had a 74 on OpenCritic, and it came out on Switch, PlayStation 4, PC, October 20th, 2021.
Yeah,
100%.
None of us forgotten. You go up to ask people about that game on Twitter, you'll get the one person that played it, and the other people will be like, "Oh, that game exists."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get to our new game releases. So my pick of the week. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So actually, let me go ahead and minimize this here. So my pick of the week is Winter Ember. So Winter Ember is an immersive stealth action game that casts you into the role of Arthur Artorias, the Faceless Man. Step into the shadows and uncover a mysterious plot that saw your family torn from the history books. On the first night of winter, you unsheathe your blade and seek vengeance. So this is gives me very big Assassin's Creed vibes to this game, kind of from an aerial view. So anyway, it comes out on April 19th for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. So yeah, what do you guys think from the footage here? Yeah, explore a hostile world. Yeah, so pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's nice visuals.
Yeah. So very Assassin's Creed like. I'm surprised. I'm surprised they didn't just name it Assassin's Creed, because the uniform that the protagonist is wearing here looks like an assassin's uniform.
Oh, well, I think they can't, because Ubisoft would be like,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So. It looks like a good game to try on Game Pass if it came.
There you go. Yeah. So, all right. So Burley, what do you have? What's up next?
My pick is Glover.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming to the PC Wednesday, April 20th. Glover is a puzzle intensive adventure game made up of 6 worlds with 30 different levels. You control a charismatic glove that walks on 2 fingers, slaps harder than Steve Austin, and dribbles faster than Scottie Pippen, and plays with a bouncy rubber ball. This is a game I wanted to try back in the day, and just that description alone, how could you not want to try? Slaps harder than Stone Cold and dribbles faster than Scottie Pippen.
Oh, wow. And what platform is this available on?
It's coming to PC.
PC only. Okay.
Yeah, but this was regular, I think, an N64 game.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
It's got to be. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I remember this game for sure.
Yeah, it was very, very Nintendo-like in style and all. All right. So coming soon. Yeah.
I just love that with sitting in the two fingers acting like feet moving. That's so funny.
Yeah. All right, Carl, you're up. What's your pick?
I have chosen the Iron Oath, which is coming to PC on Tuesday, April 19th. Command, endure, and prosper in the Iron Oath, a turn-based tactical RPG where the fate of your mercenary company rests on your decisions. Lead your band as they age, retire, and die. Build your own outfits, renown across decades in the ever-changing medieval fantasy realm of Callum. And I have a surprise.
Yeah?
I played it.
Ooh.
Played it last night.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, it is. There's a demo available on Steam.
Yeah. What's your early assessment of it? Yeah.
I really dig it. It's really fun. It's got these like the art style is unique and interesting, and the animations are really good. The combat feels good. It's a hex based grid instead of squares. And it's got all the mechanics you expect of that. It's even very like D&D like, which it's got like attacks of opportunity, like threat space. Like, so if you stand near an enemy, you threaten that enemy. So like you can't just walk away, or else like get an attack on you. That is straight from D&D. I like those type of mechanics, and also it has a lot of mechanics of pushing your enemies around across the battlefield to possibly hit them into like hazards and things. Again, I like all that. A lot of strategic options there, and there's like looks like a very deep sort of like character options and like building your company or what it was called, or your troop or whatever. Like there's all these levels of like sim sort of elements to it, and there's the dungeon crawl, which is sort of similar to, I'd say, like a Darkest Dungeon in a lot of ways. Yeah, and there's permadeath on characters. I had one of my characters permanently died.
Oh no!
Yeah,
good old Fire Emblem stuff.
I know, and he's actually in the story in the beginning, which I was like, I don't know if how it's actually supposed to play. Maybe because the demo, it doesn't matter. But I did see later when I recruited someone new, they were talking in the story, so I think it just slots in like whoever to certain roles. And the story is well written. It's interesting that it's written very much like a novel. Like there's a lot of descriptive text in between the dialogue. So like they're telling you like, he glared like hard at this guy as something happened, and it's interesting that they have those sort of descriptive moments that you don't really see a lot. So I like it. I think it's cool. I don't know if I don't know if I'd buy it. It's a game I would want to buy if I definitely had the time to play. I do enjoy it from what I played.
This is another perfect example of something that should come to Game Pass, in the sense that a lot of people might not buy it, but they would try it if it's on Game Pass for sure. So
it's PC only. It's on. See, it could be. See, the thing that I'm realizing, I don't know. I assume it has to be true, is that to be on PC Game Pass, you have to be in the Windows Store.
Yeah. I see,
And this is, I assume it's not in the Windows Store. It's
a
only
humble
on Steam,
bundle game, so to be Steam.
Yeah.
Why does that have to be on Steam? just asking.
From my experiences, Humble Bundle of buying through them, 90, like most of their games they sell, it's all through Steam.
Okay. No, I was just wondering if they had some sort of deal. I would imagine. I'm sure
some of it's through Epic, but they have more dealings with Steam.
Yeah, they definitely had. I think I've seen something that was game. So they must have. They can do it. It's not that they can't. And that's the weird thing, is that like, what was I looking at? There was another game that was coming to PC. Oh yeah, the Warhammer game that I'm interested in. Right, Warhammer Chaos Gate, Demon Hunters. It doesn't have a Windows Store release, as I see. It says Epic and it says Steam. So that seems to preclude it from coming to PC Game Pass. Whereas like, Warhammer Battle Sector and Warhammer Total War 3 launched into Game Pass, it would make sense, but for some reason it's not. That's really annoying. I don't like that.
Yeah, they should all be able to come to that service. So
don't worry, Microsoft will come with their Infinity Gauntlet of checks, and
they're working. They're doing a lot to fix that sort of Windows Store, Xbox Store on PC. But it's a real problem that something can come to Steam but not be on Windows. So it's stupid. It's really stupid, because if it runs on PC, it should run on, obviously, through the Windows Store.
Steam may pay for the rights for it. You never know.
Yeah, which is again stupid, and I don't like this whole splintering of games on PC like that. It's silly.
I agree.
It's very silly.
Well, maybe at some point Microsoft will just figure on consolidating PC Game Pass into Ultimate, at some point, and then maybe that will remedy that type of situation. I don't know, but we'll see. But
well,
please, Games for Gold is going away first.
Yeah, no, PC Game Pass is part of Ultimate.
Yeah, it is a part of Ultimate, but then maybe they'll just phase out the PC portion and just bring people over to Ultimate instead, because you have the option of only getting the PC for Game Pass, right? So I don't know.
You can get just PC Game Pass if you want. Yes.
Yeah.
No, actually, the one thing that if this were possible, and this were the benefit of if you were to, people say they want to put Game Pass on Steam, right?
Yeah.
Which may sound weird, but like I think there's another example of like a service on Steam. But if you're to do that, then that's something that should then make it so that everything available on Steam could be on PC Game Pass. Like, that's how it should work.
That's how it should work. And in a perfect world, that would be amazing. But yeah,
because then I would understand there's a benefit of going. Right now, I see no benefit for them to put it on Steam other than the idea that like you would get more subs. Yeah, obviously you would, right? But I don't think they're getting much. They're not getting anything. They're giving, and they're getting some subs for sure. Right, you want that,
right? But
you should get something out of this deal because you have a lot of power as a publisher with tons of games, right? Because Microsoft at some point in the future can say like, "Hey, guess what, Steam? We're not giving you Call of Duty. We're not going to give you any Blizzard games, which aren't there anyway. But like, we still won't give you them. We're not going to give you Elder Scrolls. Sorry, bye. They can do that." They should, right? So that's why they should negotiate some benefit. If that benefit is anything that's on Steam could potentially be on PC Game Pass, that's actually pretty significant.
And that's probably already on Phil Spencer's plate. And I'm sure that's probably those kind of ongoing discussions are probably happening. We shall see. Hopefully,
I'm sure they've had those discussions and they're going to continue to.
Okay, so so those were our picks of the week. Of course, you can go to releases.com to check out the rest of the games on that list for April 18th through the 24th. All right, so next up, of course, Carl, what's coming to Game Pass? We've been talking about Game Pass a lot on this edition of the podcast, but what are we going to be getting soon on Game Pass?
Yeah, I didn't find what's coming. I mean, we just had recently, April 12th, you had Life is Strange. Then on console, cloud, and PC, Panzer Corps on PC, and the Dungeon of Nahulbeck on PC. And then April 14th, Lost in Random, console, cloud, and PC. And then they announced Bug Snacks coming on the 28th.
Yeah, that was a big one. Yeah, that was a story that we covered on the morning show, of course. Yeah, another launch exclusive for PlayStation now coming to Game Pass, so Bug Snacks.
Yeah, it's launching the same day as the new content, which is a good way to do it. That's nice.
Yeah.
I didn't see any others. If there are, I mean, they haven't done their second April drop for Game Pass yet. So.
How about games that are leaving Game Pass? Anything
I didn't bring up a list.
Okay, that's okay.
I don't tend to care. No, sorry.
What site, Carl, can people go to see that list? Like Xbox Wire, I think. Yeah.
That's where I usually go for all that.
Okay. So you can go to Xbox Wire and check that out. So
sure they highlight what's leaving on there.
Yeah,
they do. They mention it.
Yeah. Okay, so just some announcements for the podcast and the Patreon that we have. Of course, Burley and I, yesterday, we recorded our latest episode of the Arena Extra Take, where we went through our discussion of Elden Ring. So that's in early access at the moment, but it'll be going to our YouTube channel as of tomorrow, I think it is. So you can check that out. So the final take on Elden Ring, of course, Burley provided about 20 minutes of gameplay footage for us. And so he gave a good description of that footage, and we talked a little bit about Elden Ring. So please come and check that out. And obviously, we are going to be, after this episode, recording our Moon Knight episode of episodes 1 through 3, our recap and our reactions to the Moon Knight series on Disney+. So our spoiler reactions and recap of that. So please, stay tuned for that as well. And of course, our Warp Factor 10 series on Patreon. And of course, after early access, it goes to our YouTube channel. Our season 2, episode 6 reactions with Burley and I, called, of course, from the episode called 2 of 1 is already up on our YouTube channel. And this coming Monday, we will be recording our season 2, episode 7 reactions video. So please come and check that out. So, of course, all things Board Queen and, of course, the Moon Knight series. Yeah, so good stuff. So stay tuned for that. Yeah. So now it's time to talk about what we're going to be playing or streaming this coming week. So, Burley, what are you going to be playing or streaming this coming week?
Well, I've got a few different games for me. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, I'm going to probably finish off Kirby. But through the week, we've got Strangers of Paradise. And we've also, since Kirby's going to finish, we're going to start up Lego Star Wars.
Nice.
So get that blue milk.
Good stuff. Yeah.
But for also that Sunday, April 24th, I'm doing a stream Lootsathon. So I'll be doing some Pokemon. I'll be bringing back with a randomizer and a bunch of other fun stuff.
Nice. And Carl, what are you going to be playing playing this next week? So,
I'm just going to continue with Life is Strange: True Colors.
Nice.
I think I'll just play through that. I don't know how long that'll take. Probably not too long. And then maybe I could try Weird West. I'm not sure what I'm going to jump into after that.
Yeah, I want to get to Weird West as well. I might play a little bit more of Chinatown Detective Agency, see how far I get with that and if I like it or not. And one other game that I haven't started playing, it came out almost a couple of years ago now, Watch Dogs Legions. I still have that, and I want to try it because I was a fan of the second game. I really enjoyed the Watch Dogs 2. Obviously, I enjoyed the characters in Watch Dogs 2, and of course it was in my hometown of San Francisco, I want to see what this Watch Dogs Legions was all about, being in the UK and being able to play any non-playable character. They're not non-playable characters now. You can play any character. You can just go up to them and recruit them, so to speak. So I'm interested to see what that's all about, and I'm sure with all the bug fixes and everything, it's probably runs a lot smoother at this point. So it's about time to give it a try and see how it goes. So I might this coming week have some things to say about that as well. But yeah, Chinatown Detective Agency, I want to continue with that. And Weird West as well. So start that. So
yeah, I would like to try Legion too.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Put it on Game Pass. Let's go.
just Microsoft. Just purchase Ubisoft, and then you can get everything over there. All the Ubisoft Plus games, of course, can jump onto Game Pass and everything too. So.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah. All right. So to end the show, our indie recording artist spotlight for this week. So this week's spotlight is on Almost Weekend. So Dutch duo Almost Weekend brings a diverse repertoire of songs ranging from catchy pop hooks to hard-hitting trap bangers. Their unique and versatile range means there's a song to fit every vibe. From the title song of their album called Turn You On. So this has been The Arena, a multi-platform gaming news podcast, episode 82. I've been your host, Expat, along with my co-hosts, Burley of Burleman Gaming on Twitch and Turn-Based Carl. So we hope to catch you in the next one. So take care, everyone. Peace out.
When you put your hand in my jacket, I'm thinking so irrational. You flew me international now. We can spend hours reading the signals, but that's so unoriginal. What if we took this back to my house? Under all these lights, I gotta take a minute to calm down. But I feel like if I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? I just feel like you need to know. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? I just feel like you need to know. Tell me, should I go and call up a taxi? We can make out for a play in the backseat. Please tell me now how that all sounds. You can sleep in while I make breakfast, watch cartoons and talk about exes. And if you're happy, stick around. I just feel like this is worth the risk. I never felt a fire like this. If I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? I just feel like you need to know. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? I just feel like you need to know. Right here, right now, we're running out of things to talk about. Right here, right now, I'm about to let the truth come out. If I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? You tell me now. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? Keep my feet on the ground. If I told you I was ready right this minute, I just wanna go and lay you down. I just feel like you need it's clear. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? To know. If I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on?